Hello everyone, back in the galley again, and today we are going to make some bread because a couple of people have asked for me to make some bread for them, or they wanted to see the recipe anyway, and so that's what I'm doing. So keep watching and we're going to put this together for you right now. So you're going to want about 2 cups of warm water. Usually around 207 degrees is ideal for yeast, but just lukewarm tap water works. 1/4 cup of sugar and get that stirred in there and make sure it gets nicely dissolved in there. Once it's all mixed up, you're going to want to get some yeast in there. About 1.5 tablespoons of active dry yeast. I don't do it really exactly, I do about 1.5 in there. Get it mixed in the water. You want to be real gentle. Once you get yeast into water, it is an active living thing, so you want to get in there gently. Time it for 5 minutes so that it starts to activate. It'll start eating away at that sugar you mixed in with the water. Get a nice foam in there. Getting some of those big pieces down into the water that are floating on top. Then you want about 1.5 teaspoons or so of salt and 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. Then give that a stir. I know I use dry. That's a dry measuring cup that I use there. My wife always is upset at me I'm not using the right one, but it still works. Give that a nice gentle mix. You don't need to do too much, and just get the salt kind of spread out in the oil. Then you're going to start adding the flour. You want to do this 1 cup at a time. You're going to do a total of 6 cups of flour, but 1 at a time, and you mix it in. As soon as the flour is incorporated into the water, then you're going to add the next cup, basically. And just keep going that way until you've got a nice, wet, scraggly dough. Also, I change this recipe up a lot. I like to have a little bit of wheat in there. It is a very light loaf of bread. You'll see it if you make this. So usually what I do is I do 2 full cups of wheat flour, and then I'll do 4 cups of bread flour, and that gives it a nice consistency, and it's hearty, and it has a really good flavor to it. I've done it with all wheat and all flour, and it's when you do all regular flour, it's just like a loaf of white bread basically, and very light, very fluffy. And if you do it with all wheat, it's a pretty hearty, heavy dough, and you got to kind of adjust a lot of the timing and everything with that. So once you get all of it in there, it's kind of scraggly, your last cup, you start to massage it in there by hand. And with this dough, again, you don't want to be, as soon as you over mix it or overproof or anything, it really will, it's a really delicate loaf. So you want to do this initial kneading just to incorporate all the dough, and it gets a smooth texture. You'll see that here once I finish, but you don't want to go any further than that. And so now about 5 minutes or so has gone by, and you can see now see how it's getting nice and smooth, and that's about where you want to stop. You don't really want to go any further than that because it'll just be overmixed. Then you're going to want to just kind of roll that up a bit. You can actually see all the little grains of wheat in there too, mixed in. So give it a little sprinkle of olive oil to kind of protect it from the walls that are coming up, and then you're going to want to let this sit in a nice warm location for at least an hour. It's going to double in size. That's what you're looking for. Here you can see it's coming out. It's nice and fluffy. You're going to punch this back down, and you'll feel all the glutens in there when you do this. And you want to mix it again, but you do not want to go any longer than 3 minutes when you do this part. All the glutens are just kind of mixing now and forming, and so we kind of break it down again. Knead it all up nice. This is actually when you'll feel the dough feels completely different than the last time you were working with it. Like I keep saying, it is a delicate dough, so you don't want to do anything too much to it, and because it will collapse on you or break down on you. So as soon as you get to that 3-minute mark, you should stop. You don't want to go any further than that. Alright, so we've gotten to our 3-minute mark. You're going to slice that in half there. Because this is going to make 2 loaves, by the way. So I should have mentioned that in the beginning. So cut that in half, roll them up, or put them in loaf pans. However you want to do it. It doesn't really matter. I like to we make them in these round pans here. Set those in there. You want to use oiled surfaces because it does get sticky. So form it into a ball. Give it a coating of oil. So the pan is oiled, and you want to oil the dough ball. Put a cover on it, and then let them sit for 30 minutes. Now this is where it gets really delicate again. Now it's proofing. If you bump these pans during the proofing process, it will collapse, and you end up with a pancake. You won't get a nice fluffy loaf of bread. So you're gonna make sure that you're really careful when you're moving around, like you see here I'm doing. That's the sliced loaf, or the loaf's now proofed. And give it a little. You need a very sharp knife to do this, otherwise you'll collapse the dough. Give it a slice across the top. This helps with expansion, so you don't get what's called a blowout. The dough will blow out of the side of it, and then it goes in the oven. You want 350 degrees for 30 minutes. Make sure it's preheated, all that. And then let that go for 30 minutes. A nice golden brown crust on it, obviously. And there you go. There's the finished loaf coming out. The other one's getting ready to go in. You can see I'm trying to be really delicate here. It will collapse. All of a sudden you'll see it pop like a balloon and flatten completely out. So you got to be really delicate with it. Is that the other one coming out? It's the other one coming out. They're nice and golden brown. See it stuck just a little bit there. If you don't get a good layer of oil on that pan, it will get stuck in there. But you see it's nice, and you want that tap. When you tap on that, it sounds hollow. That's how you know it's a nice good. You got a good dough ball or a good loaf of bread out of it. And here's cutting it open to show that texture in there and how it's nice and light and fluffy. And so you don't want it. You want it to spring back when you touch it. If it holds your finger mark in there, then you know you didn't do it right. There you go, and that's our loaf of bread. Enjoy. That recipe is really more exact when it comes to timing versus some of the other ones that I do, where it's just, it doesn't really matter as much. But that one, it's where we showed the clock in there. Each step in there has to be timed really well, or it doesn't work. And especially that part where after you split the dough up, if you move it again after that point, it will collapse on you, and you'll have a really heavy dough that's very, very flat, and it won't work at all. So make sure you stick to the times, and then it should work out just fine. Thanks, we'll see you next time.